The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Hello there, and welcome back to Knights of the Nerd Republic, the show where your favorite nerds sit down and talk all things from the galaxy far, far away. Hi, we got a full house this week, as you can see. We got a three-man team, and
fixing that.
What?
I'm fixing that damn camera.
Oh, okay. Well, Levi
got a camera in there now. It used to be a phone, but now it's a camera.
Yeah, I mean it's been a camera for a minute. The camera's been a pain in my ass.
Okay.
But yeah, so while Levi adjusts that ever so slightly, and we lost the internet on the Chromecast, so that's good. That's not concerning for me at all. We also have the lore keeper, Connor Chiquiti.
Hello there, everyone. Glad to be here. Glad to talk Bad Batch, the first two episodes.
Absolutely. And it is not just us four. No, we would not stop there. We also have, first time finally having him on. You guys saw him in our May the 4th special. We got Nick Mielke from Podcast of the Whills.
Yo, what's up?
Very happy to have you on, Nick. Before we get the show started, would you like to do your pluggables and tell people where they can find you and your show?
Well, if you insist. First of all, it is truly an honor to be on here with you guys. Jared, you and I talk a bunch back and forth. You were on Podcast of the Whills. Gosh, it's been 2 months ago now. And I love what you guys do. And so I'm always excited to have a chance to talk Star Wars with anybody, but especially to be here with you guys this morning. So thanks for that. Podcast of the Whills. We stream every Sunday night, usually around 8:30 Central. YouTube, Facebook, normal places that you can find live streams. Best thing to do to find us online is at Whills Pod, or you can find me at Nick Mielke 78. It's pretty much the same thing. It's usually just a matter of which one am I logged into at the time when I start just spewing nonsense into the internet. So you're going to find us either way. But we do a Sunday night live stream. We have a guest. We've been doing a thing for the last couple of months where I make cocktails and name them after my guests. And it's really just an excuse to, drink booze and talk Star Wars. And we do a top 7 list. That's kind of my gimmick, I guess, is there's not enough lists of Star Wars things. So why not add one more? So we pick a top 7, we count it down, we talk about it, and just have a good time.
Yes, indeed. It's a great time, great show. Can't recommend it enough. It's definitely in the echelon of actually doing unique things. I know that because you get the shows that are a little bit on the clickbaitier side that occupy that space of the fandom that we don't like to talk about. Then you get stuff that's more news based. Then you get the hyper specific topic stuff, which we do a little bit of both of. And then I don't think a lot of shows actually do listicles. There's a lot of listicles out there, but there aren't any shows that do a list, and it's always a very hyper specific list for your guest.
That's right. Yeah, I try to tailor it to the guest. I want them to be excited about, and as I said, I think I even said this to you when you were coming on, I want it to be something they're excited to talk about, but I also hope that it'll challenge them a little bit. If I make you choose your top 7, favorite characters or favorite planets, there's a little bit of favorite child, you're going to have to let somebody go. Who are the 7 going to be? Weigh it out, be invested in the conversation, because that's when Star Wars conversations are the best, in my opinion, is when we're invested in it, when we've got a little bit of soul behind. This is why I picked that thing. And yes, there's other great ones, but these are my favorites. And that's the thing too. And I'm glad you said that, about clickbait. Our whole thing is, like a lot of folks, spark of positivity. We're going to have fun. We're going to hang out. We're going to laugh.
Absolutely.
There's no reason to, be pissed off about Star Wars.
I agree with you. It is about space wizards and also for children, but also for everybody. And that is the big point here. This is our first episode post May the 4th. Hope you guys enjoyed the May the 4th special. Like I said, Nick was gracious enough to send in a video of him talking about his favorite Star Wars movie, like the rest of the team did. Yeah, we didn't get a whole lot of news this May 4th, which was a little bit of a surprise. Obviously, there was the big reveal of the real lightsaber that Disney had patented. Outside of that, I feel like that's the only big news that's broken that I can think of.
There was a small variety. There was a Variety article that like flew under the radar that gave updates on like every future Star Wars project from this year and beyond, and just like the two noticeable things were just, to me at least, were Andor is going to have 12 episodes in its first season, and Kenobi is a 6-episode series. So.
Yeah. So outside of that, nothing crazy. There were some set photos from Andor. However, we can talk about stuff like that next week, because this week is going to be dedicated to the first 2 episodes of The Bad Batch. So yeah, Nick as our guest, and making sure we get your commentary in before the construction may or may not start outside. That is exactly the noise I'm afraid of, just right up against the wall.
Anyway,
Mike
Nick,
takes good care of our audio listeners.
It sounds like the Battle of Midway over there.
I was just gonna make a kamikaze joke.
No, we aren't using kamikazes yet. That was in 44.
Yeah,
Still early.
42.
correct.
Nick, the floor is yours on the first 2 episodes of The Bad Batch.
Absolutely. And I said this, I talk about this a lot on my show. I'm trying not to repeat. And Connor and I were talking about this before we got started. For me, I'm not an original Clone Wars lover. It wasn't one of the first things. I was born in 78. I grew up with the original trilogy. Have the normal people my age relationship to the prequels. I kind of hated them. I kind of ignored them. Now they're fine. I like them. It's a part of a bigger picture. I really do. But for me, the original Clone Wars series and all that, I was in, when did original Clone Wars series start? Was it
08?
Yeah.
08? Okay. Like I was out of college. I was married. Like it wasn't something that I was focused on paying attention to. And I really came back around to the Clone Wars because of Rebels. And I love Rebels so much. And it's probably my favorite new Disney era Star Wars storytelling. The lore, the whole thing, it has a very, very special place in my heart. But because of Rebels, I ended up using Clone Wars like a reference book. When the Darksaber popped up, I was like, I need to go find out more about that. So I'd go watch those episodes of Clone Wars, and then I'd go watch, something else. And so over the course of doing that, I became somewhat familiar with Clone Wars, but it's always just kind of lived in this other space that it wasn't my favorite. I know some about it. But then by the time we got season 7 of Clone Wars last year, there was Ahsoka. So that's all I cared about. And so the first 4 episodes that were Bad Batch focused, I was like, okay, this is great. When do we get to Ahsoka? So I've never disliked it. It's just been in that other place that's like, it's fine. It's just not my thing. This first episode dropped on Tuesday, and I couldn't be more on board. Like, it is so good. I didn't care about these characters a year ago in those first 4 episodes of season 7, but from the jump of Tuesday, I was fully on board for the Bad Batch. I love every one of them. Wrecker doesn't annoy me the way I expected him to annoy me. Like, everything about it. And of course, to jump into that first episode and those first, 8 minutes and who we get and, that story, and to see, baby Kanan and, this whole deal, like, I am fully on board for something that a year ago I would have been like, Bad Batch, I'll wait for Kenobi or, whatever it is. So I love it. Pumped, looking forward to it every Friday. I'm glad we have to wait, because if we gave me all of it, I'd watch all of it. Like, that's just the way it goes. But it's fantastic. Like, there's so much in it, and I'm sure that's a part of what we're going to get into. There's little things throughout it that to me are what make it special, and it's what connects it to the overall lore. And that we're in such a unique place with Star Wars right now and the sheer volume of content we're getting through Disney Plus, through animation, through shows, through eventual movies, that like we get to fill in spaces and gaps and little bits of story without it feeling weird. Like I actually think it's a much better way. Like this is the new version of what I spent all my time growing up with, which was the EU, the old EU. Like we get to get, the formation of the empire, like the earliest post Order 60s, which we get in episode 2 that we got yesterday. Chain codes and like these new things that are being implemented and put in as a part of this developing what we get in New Hope. So I'm pumped about it. Like I'm fully on board for everything Bad Batch.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And, video people saw, but audio listeners, the second Nick said, I give a damn about the Bad Batch now, Levi's just yes. Because that's what you've been saying for a hot minute.
Yeah. The Clone Wars episodes for the Bad Batch didn't do anything for me. They were very much like cardboard cutout of characters and not actual characters. Kind of like how I feel about the entire Guardians of the Galaxy movie at first. Not a hot take. But yeah, these first 2 episodes, well, the trailer actually did get me interested in the Bad Batch. But half of that is because I wanted to know what's up with now we know it's a girl.
Yeah.
Right. Who is also cool. I think she's actually going to be the catalyst for all of their character growth that we're going to be seeing, and she's already doing it to Hunter, to Rambo over there. So yeah, I'm liking it. I'm glad Crosshair was the one that defected because he was always my least favorite. Now it was justified. I can say I called it.
Levi passed Crosshair's vibe check all the way back during Clone Wars.
Yeah. And like, let's be real. Like, even if it wasn't leaked, and even if it wasn't like you could tell from his uniform in the trailer, you could pretty much figure it out in the episode within like the first 5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. We'll get to that in a minute. I almost said something. I almost got plot heavy for a second. But yeah.
I'm really liking it. It is just as beautiful as season 7 of the Clone Wars, which is great. It's interesting to see that the inhibitor chip not only made them do Order 66, but just turned them all into asshats. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it really. I like the way that all of the clone troopers are really
droids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Their entire personality's gone. Once that inhibitor chip got turned on, at no point do you ever see a clone trooper being as weirdly aggressive with civilians as they have been in these last 2 episodes.
Right. But Crosshair is still a little different.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if we're going to see an attempted
is there a redemption
rescue arc? Because it's not redemption because he's being made to do it.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could see
Freedom
that
from
though.
slavery.
Yeah,
Liberation.
Redemption in the same way that the Winter Soldier has been redeemed,
right?
Where it's more of you need to it's more of a public image redemption tour type thing.
Yeah,
where Bucky was not in control of what he did as the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, and hopefully
that was all Hydra.
He doesn't die after getting possibly redeemed.
Honey, this is Star Wars. He's gonna die a horrible death.
So.
Yeah, it's not redemption.
But no, I know what you mean though. Yeah, redemption for lack of a better word.
Rescue.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might see a rescue arc. I don't foresee him living through it. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he can fight the inhib chip, if he wants to fight the inhib chip. It's going to be... I thought they were going back to Saw because I don't know all of these letter names at the end of the first episode. Yeah, we know a guy. Turns out it's the like freaking defector from like season 2, season 3.
Yeah, I think
3 or
season
4. Oh, it was 2. Okay.
two. It
cool.
might have been. I don't know. I'm gonna go Google that right now.
So that was interesting. I wasn't expecting that.
See, no, that was part of the leaks I had read.
Okay.
And if we want to discuss them, we can. I will let that be up to anybody else on the show if I talk about them. No, okay, that's a no on Connor. All I will say is that I hope that the leak I read is wrong because it talked about what we saw in this episode, but it also felt like something horrible was supposed to happen in this episode as well. So I'm really hoping that either the leak is wrong and they just kind of like made shit up based on one fact that it had right.
What is like Bad Batch Domino 2.0?
No.
Oh.
And I don't want to clarify the answers. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody listening or Connor.
Is Echo
I
finally
assume
supposed to fall?
Scar Squadron.
Huh?
I'm assuming
Oh,
Scar
that would be
Squadron,
interesting
but
to
I
see Scar
It
Squadron
wasn't
come up.
Scar. It was. I'm just going to tell you. It was just.
I'm gonna go around.
Hey, I love that shit. I
Yeah.
love him. I love the like stormtrooper with a lightsaber.
Krell, yeah.
Shouts out Ralph McQuarrie. I
Just text it to me after.
I will. All I'm going to say is this, and I thought this episode was about to have a very, 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 very sad ending. And it didn't, and I'm afraid that it's still in the oven.
Yeah, it's in the air. Yeah.
I don't want that to be the case, but we will see what happens.
I'm really liking Tick.
Tick. Hey, Tick.
Tick is he's growing on me fast.
Yeah, Tech is.
Yeah.
I like.
He
Yeah,
has
I like
a little
him too.
snark to him, but like always honest snark.
Yeah,
He's very.
He reminds me of you.
theoretical.
Oh yeah.
There's like a little bit of that, like I'm going to like sarcastically, like in kind of antagonistically state the obvious after being asked a question where it's like, I know you're being genuine, but I want to smack you in the face. Also, I love the joke you made calling him Tick. That is like one of my favorite little Omega things is that she cannot say the word tech.
Yeah.
And she's hey, Tick. Hey, Tick.
Ricka.
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 I love that accent so much.
And that's a really good point, like Levi said about tech, but about all of them. And to come back kind of to what I said about not giving a crap about them in the first 4 episodes of season 7, being fully in on this group. And I made the jokes in between last year and this year when we knew we were going to get this as its own series. You know, I grew up, this was going to be Space A-Team. Like, you know, flying around in a van, soldiers for hire, this whole whatever. But like the dynamics just in these first 2 episodes between, especially the 4 of them, as Crosshair kind of moves out of the picture for now, the little comments, the little parts of personalities, you know, the jokes about how their room stinks, you know, when they're loading up on the ship in the first episode and Wrecker's excited because of all the, you know, guns and weapons and whatever. And Tech's like, you're not putting that near me. I'm not sleeping near all this crap. And it's not a focused part of the conversation. It's like as he's going up the ramp and is muttering it under his breath, but it's still like those personality bits that just endear you to this group of people who have, you know, an interplay between each other.
Yeah, they are becoming their own characters, like Guardians 2. I assume we're going to be doing. I assume we're like gonna just go through generally what we think and then go back for a specific shit.
Yeah.
All right, then I will end it there. I'm really liking it. I think I have some thinks about Omega, who I also really love.
I love her. She's a fun character. I'm not as much like the she's precious, I'll die for you type way that I know a lot of people are like. Bing. She's kind of like right up there with Grogu. Yeah. Well, like she isn't like. Huh?
I'm not up there with Grogu.
Oh yeah, I know, but I'm saying like a lot of like I've seen a lot of people who are like, I will burn someone at the stake in the name of Omega the same way they would for Grogu. I'm not quite there with Omega, like
yet.
because she's a little too much of a person for me to like. I don't know. I can't like.
Sorry, Omega, you're not a puppet.
I don't honestly no. Like I look at Grogu and it's that like you're like a little puppy dog and I'm gonna hold you. With Omega, it's like yes, like keep her protected, but like I'm locked in on her as a character. Like I am very fascinated by you. You are precious. You are adorable. Who knows? 2 episodes from now, I might eat crow and be like, I'll put a round through someone's head just in the name of Omega. Maybe I'll be there eventually. But right now, I just want to see where she's going.
And I think that makes sense. And I'm kind of with you. Like, she's great, but because we haven't had enough, right now, I'm still looking at her as the plot device. Like, she's the central driving, connecting, like, where is this going? And part of the reason that we know that's working is because we're spending all of our extra time trying to figure it out now instead of waiting for it to come up on the show with theories and, is she this, is she that? I don't dislike her. I don't want anything bad to happen to her, but I'm not like you. I'm not like, let me take a bullet for you yet.
Interesting. Yep. So that's where I am. I'll get back to my thoughts about Omega when we come back around, but they probably will be said before me, so that's okay. Mikhail.
Full disclaimer, I have not seen them yet. So,
Kanori.
Mike.
Sorry.
Wow.
We've been spoiling.
What a casual.
It's okay.
You fucking mad lad.
Yeah.
Like, say, what are we talking about all night today? Bad Batch, I'm in.
Dude.
Shows up. Fucking
Dude.
A.
You should have tried to make things up.
Well,
You should have seen how far you could get away with
Contessa.
it's cool, like, Contessa just do the whole time, be like,
I show up to Bad Batch.
How
and
did he
just,
shut
I
at the
haven't
end? I
seen
was
it.
like, wow.
Maybe Palpatine did show up.
The best part now knowing that, the look on your face where I'm like, man, that really scary shit I read in the leaks, or like the look on your face, I was like, man, he seems like legitimately concerned. It's like, just now that I have the full context, what's going on in your head is, what the shit happened in episode 2 then? Like, what the hell? That was so funny. Well, this episode could be us pitching you on Bad Batch then.
Okay. Yeah, and this, like, I am joined with the audience members who haven't seen it either. So, yeah.
If audience members are watching this podcast, I think they are watching it.
Well, they could be as idiotically clueless as me half the time and just be like, okay, let's just watch this now.
If
Just be like,
any large
Oh,
chunk,
Mike, you're not clueless.
if any large chunk of our
Stars.
listener base has you energy, I'm terrified, but also that explains so much.
they just
You
keep
were gonna-
coming back for more.
You were gonna watch it anyway, right?
Huh?
You were gonna watch it anyway, right?
I mean, yeah, I didn't. Yes. Like, I just didn't. Like, I just keep seeing on my feed like Bad Batch. I'm like, okay.
This is what I deal with,
Scroll
Nick.
up. But like, like not indifferent, but vaguely indifferent, but not indifferent. Like, just,
Yeah.
The fact that everyone's talking about it makes you like, good lord.
Yeah,
Right.
No, I'm not even mad about that. I'm just like, it's there, and then it just goes up the scroll, up the feed. Into
I will say, as somebody who was like not super invested in or gave a damn about this show outside of it's something we're going to cover,
Yeah,
I
because I remember you mentioned that we were going to cover it, and I'm like, oh, okay. So like, I'm not like, I'm just like, okay, when are we going to cover it?
I'm
Yeah.
glad it's something that exists
Yeah.
beyond it just being like a content well for nights.
Right.
I'm glad this show already. This show deserves its time.
Yep.
At least I think. Connor.
Anyway, I really like it so far. Even though we're only 2 episodes in, I'm just really appreciative of Omega and just the Bad Batch themselves, how they're gonna react to how they are reacting and just gonna react further to like their change in purpose in this galaxy with the Empire. And as Levi said earlier, how Omega is going to be the catalyst for the Bad Batch's both individual character development, but like also the development as a squad. And I think that's the one thing I'm looking forward the most to, because it's just gonna be really interesting to see like 3 episodes down the line, like, oh, she has an episode where she bonds mainly with Echo or with Tech or with Wrecker, and just all of them.
Tick. Echo.
Yeah.
Echo.
Yeah, it's just going to be. I really like the show. So, and it's just how it like, it's in that legacy of Clone Wars, but I'm hoping that like it moves past that and forges its own identity, which I feel like it will by the end of it.
Yeah, Star Wars tends to have that problem, I think, of sometimes not being able to, like, there's too many references to other things, like what's the word for it? You know, like
Fan service.
yeah, yeah.
Illusions.
No, there's another.
The Rise of Skywalker.
And The Force Awakens.
I think.
Too,
I think
like,
Mike,
yeah,
like references and everything like help strengthen it. But I think what you're trying to get at is like how just similar some of these episodes are to like past Star Wars media, and just like how they can't really get out of the shadow of it. And there's been a decent amount of Star Wars media that's been able to do that, but like Star Wars
big hitters. Yeah.
I think that there's an interesting issue that the current canon has, and it's not an issue that the current canon has. It's just the fact that like the current canon has not existed as long as Legends did. So there is not the content well where like go back to Legends and see how well documented the transition from the Republic to the Empire is. And like the Purge period and all of that stuff.
That was a fun time.
It's
like,
one of my favorite eras in Legends, like the dawn of Darth Vader, right?
Yeah. I still like how the clones and the Empire were still using old Republic technology, and it was just interesting to see like literal transitions. Like Vader was still piloting an Eta 2 starfighter
exactly
that was painted black, like
stuff like that. And I love that shit.
Yeah.
And again, it's a transitional period for the Empire that I really like. And right now in canon, I think it's weird that like we have seen a lot of like, here's what's happening concurrently with Revenge of the Sith, like in Fallen Order, with the Order 66 flashback, and in Clone Wars when we get Ahsoka fighting her way through, and Ahsoka and Rex fighting their way through Order 66. There's a lot of like we're seeing the Order come down, and then we flash ahead. What we aren't seeing is the immediate aftermath. And even though there is a little bit of a retread here with the Order 66 scene that we do get, which we're going to talk about.
Is it graphic? Is it violent?
It is really disturbing.
It's terrifying.
It's more than anything else that we've seen along the Order 66 lines, I would say.
So we're going to get into details in a second, Mike. Don't you worry. This is the first time we're really seeing the Order happened, First Galactic Empire, and then what is happening in the days after Palpatine's B-Hall push. Like this is the right, like again, like the Galactic Empire is supposed to be Nazi Germany, right? Like this, like the Order 66 is the Reichstag fire. Like we are it. Like this is like the dawn. Everything shit is hitting the fan.
Yeah, this is
and
the
every
dawn
time
of the
we
Empire.
and like every time it's like First Galactic Empire, homeboys in a suit. This Jedi you like is dead. Now here's the Rebel Alliance. I'm okay with the fact that we had to get another Order 66 moment. And we had to retread that.
Was it worse than what we saw at the end of Clone Wars?
It's really violent. Like it's one of those like cut away. It's like one of those like we cut away, but like
But
it
it's
does
still
not
like graphic enough that you can picture it.
Yeah.
It's the most realistic sounding death we've heard in at least animated Star Wars. Like it really unsettled
Did she
me.
scream?
Yeah.
I completely missed it.
As he's running.
Yeah, I completely missed it.
As he's running, it's like run. We see the lightsaber get shot out of her hand, and as he's running, we just hear her in the background just as they're just unloading into her.
I was too distracted by the dropping of the man's balls when he was still in the womb.
Who? What?
We'll get it.
No, we're not going to explain it at all until we get to
Okay,
that scene.
you know,
Dropping of the man's what?
I would like to be
Don't
as
even
confused
explain
as you can
anything,
be.
Jared. General thoughts.
We're just gonna keep you as confused as we can until we talk about it.
I have one other point before we get to Jared's general thoughts.
Please
just
do.
talking about what you were saying, era wise, time period wise, comparing to some of you were talking about what we have and not having that as long as we had the legend stuff and the old expanded EU and all that. Very quickly for the people in the room, how old were each of you 13 years ago? Sorry to make you do math.
I'm not a math
Is that
major.
2005,
11, I think.
Right?
11 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, let me-
I mean, I'm
Oh, 11. Oh
13
no.
years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah, 11.
I was
11.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be-
2000.
I'd be 10 because I'm
9.
23 now.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
9.
So
21 minus 13. I guess I'm
9.
8, 9,
8.
8.
You were not
that was
8.
2009, so I was 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was 9.
So just
We're no longer allowed to call ourselves an academy after how long that took.
there
We're
are
history
multiple
majors.
majors in an academy.
that's right. It's just not math, me either.
Not a
But here's the
technical
thing.
school.
Looking at the development of this lore and what you get from something like Clone Wars, you guys were all 8, 9, 10 years old when Clone Wars was out. Like that was a key part of your Star Wars development, a key part of what you grew up with, watched. Whether it was your number one thing or not is a different story, but like it was kind of targeted mostly for you. 13
Yeah.
years ago, I was 30 years old. Like I didn't pay attention to Clone Wars. It wasn't on my radar. It wasn't a thing. And so the engagement to it, like I feel like I approach this show, even though I have lots of enthusiasm for it, I may approach it differently than somebody who got original Clone Wars when they were 9. It's like Connor and I were talking about before the show. Like I still have to stop myself and go, which clone is that? Is that Fives? Is that so-and-so? Because that wasn't
Same
my
way.
deal.
Same way. Yep.
But other people are like, oh, just a quick glance. And they're like, that's Wolf or Gregor or whoever it is.
Seth Spencer.
I know a bunch of names, but I don't know who's who. Like I need them to hold still next to each other so I can figure out which one is which or who's whatever. But
Yeah.
that has an effect too on what we're talking about, the development of like I'm really engaged in this on a lot of levels because of exactly what you said, Jared, which is fleshing out the beginnings of the Empire. And we get a lot of that in the second episode with the advent of chain codes and the change in the attitude of the clones, the change in, somebody says the word empire and somebody goes, empire, we're an empire now. Like those little, kind of nuts and bolts bits speak to me for fleshing out what I got with my Star Wars as a kid when I was 8 and 9 and 10 years old. So it's interesting to think, no, we haven't had it as long, but I actually think it's doing as much, if not more, to develop these other parts of the lore that we do have.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
Well said.
For me, generally speaking, with upfront thoughts, like I said earlier, I'm really enjoying it. I really am enjoying these characters a lot. I think one of my favorite elements so far, as somebody who really likes the 501st, not on the same level that we made the joke, Spencer's like the clone guy. He can very easily, quickly, and readily tell you the difference between all of them. That is not a talent I have. However, being the Anakin stan that I am, Stanikin, if you will. Did you just say stop?
I know I said Stanikin.
Oh, I thought you just whispered stop.
Stanikin, no.
Oh, but loving Anakin as much as I do, obviously the 501st is going to be my favorite clone legion. Also for Legends purposes. Plus, I like the color blue, and I really enjoy Echo being on the Bad Batch now. Echo, because I can't tell how long it's been since the Bad Batch rescued Echo.
At least 2 days.
At least 2 days since he joined the team. But I like the fact that there's still a part of him that's very y'all are fucking weird. Like
Yeah.
he's like, I hung out with Anakin Skywalker and you guys make me a little uncomfortable. Like you guys are a little weird. I'm not used to this shit yet. So I don't know. I like seeing Echo not still quite able to just take what he's seeing at face value. I think that's a really interesting character beat for him. I'm liking everybody else on the team. I love Omega. Crosshair, I think, is shaping up to be a really interesting antagonist. Like we were talking about earlier, seeing the clones kind of have this immediate heel turn from the moment the inhibitor chip is activated. I think it is also very interesting the way they were like, okay, so we put an inhibitor chip in one of them. Now we're going to crank it up to 11. And I want to see what crank it up to 11 looks like. You know what I mean? I want to see.
They put the inhib chip in all of them, but it just got damaged by the experiments.
Yeah, the programming was
okay.
Except everyone except for like Crosshair.
Right. Yeah, and then for some reason the biological chip was kind of working with Crosshair, and then
I didn't quite understand that part either. Okay.
Well, and didn't they kind of say the same thing about Echo? Like he had a chip, but whatever he went through before damaged his chip, so he wasn't susceptible to it like the other ones weren't. So there's some sort of like physical environmental component that could have an effect on it, whether it was, NFL style, traumatic head, expression, or the experiments or whatever it is. So there's the chance that they could be, dealt with. So theirs were, Crosshairs was the least affected apparently.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. And, it doesn't surprise me that Echoes got messed up given the whole Lobot rig. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. Very much looking forward to seeing what happens next. I saw a lot of people you talking about how this might be stupid, and again, we're super early in, so I don't know 100% know what I want from this show necessarily. But I can say with some amount of confidence, and maybe I'll be wrong, maybe I'll walk this back, I don't necessarily need or want this show to just be a love letter to the Clone Wars, and to put that in air quotes. I saw people describing episode 2 that way, that I don't know. I
got that vibe. And I also got Mando chapter 4 vibes.
Yeah. And there's also something to be said for this reoccurring trope that we're having now of person who's super rough exterior becomes reluctant, a father.
Soft dad.
Only now it's 4 clones and a baby instead of one Mandalorian and a baby. So I want Bad Batch 2 as much as it can be, despite being a spinoff, be its own thing the deeper we get.
Yeah.
But
then
again, something might happen. There might be an amazing...
It has its own plot.
Yeah.
But to completely divorce it from Clone Wars is not possible.
You're 100% right.
I saw people on Twitter who I'm not a huge fan of. They were saying, so we can just let it go because it's not Clone Wars, but it's a direct continuation of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
You can't deny that.
Yeah.
Same animation style too.
Yeah, and there's just a little bit of because obviously we know from the trailer we're going to see Rex at some point too, right? I want a little less. Hey, look at this! Hey, look who it is! Hey, look who it is!
Like Mando.
Mando has that issue a little bit. Yeah, I mean,
a bit.
I mean, Boba Fett and Luke. That's pretty much it.
And I think this is an interesting point, and maybe this is an age difference thing again. I'm not trying to harp on that, but
you have a point, Bo-Katan and Ahsoka, yeah.
With Mando, things like Disney, and this is a very fine line that Disney, the story group, all the people that are creating all these different things we're getting, we've gotten this runway of stuff for the next 3 or 4 years, shows, movies, whatever it is. They have the ability to connect and also stand alone at the same time, which is a very fine line to walk. because a fan like me or like you guys, like watching Mando, like in the episode when Ahsoka shows up, because I love Ahsoka so much, I was disappointed initially that like they didn't, because my dad watches Mando and doesn't know who the hell Ahsoka Tano is. And he was like, yeah, I like that one Jedi that had the 2 lightsabers. And I'm like, but you have no idea. Like, I needed him to know all the details and where she came from. But he didn't need that. Like, he didn't go, I wonder where she came from. He went, that's pretty cool. And so somebody could drop into the first episode of Bad Batch and not have to know who Caleb Doom is or who Depa Billaba is or who, and they could just watch it and it stands alone. And then for somebody like me or you guys, we're looking at, oh, this connects to that other thing. And so we're able, and I really applaud Disney for finding the way to navigate that. And you hear people complain all the time. I want to be able to watch the movies without having to read a book first. I want to be able to, watch such and such without knowing 5 other things. You get the best of both worlds, in my opinion. And to come back to kind of what Levi said, I like those little nods, especially in something like Mando, because it feels like original trilogy, my core Star Wars, to see a Kowakian monkey lizard or to see the pod racer engine or to see like those little nods for me are fun and they don't feel over the top. It feels like, oh shit, look at that thing. I remember that. Or, and it can go both ways, but to me, it doesn't take away, it does stop short of them looking at the camera and going, hey, look at that. Wink. It's not that hardcore, but it really is to me a balancing act between each of these products can stand on their own. You could drop in. My mom doesn't care anything about Star Wars, but she's watched both seasons of Mando because she thinks Baby Yoda is cute.
That's the same thing with my mom too.
And so that works for her, but it does. I'm the weirdo. I'm the one that needs to know every single thing when somebody else doesn't. It's a balancing act, I guess, is where I'm coming from.
I feel that. And I think that's a good segue into talking about Dave Filoni's string of retcons. We had some retcons at the end of Clone Wars Season 7.
Small, but like
small. And
they don't retcon the whole book.
They don't retcon all of the Ahsoka novel, but they retcon the Siege of Mandalore, which takes up mostly the prologue. Here we have a retcon that changes a good chunk of the Kanan the Last Padawan comics. Mike, to explain what we've been referring to. In this issue, we get a reinterpretation of the death of Depa Billaba and Kanan Jarrus,
his escape
by the name Caleb Doom.
Yep,
and his escape. Connor, you and I got to guest on Skywalking Through the League. I'm gonna get their name right on the first try one day. We got to guest on Skywalking Through the League to talk about the first episode of the Bad Batch. So since then, how are you feeling about the retcon and one of your favorite characters getting viciously fucking murdered?
4K, dude. I don't appreciate Star Wars for this. Like, I had to see it in a comic, and I was already sad. But like watching it in crisp animated 4K, nah, not my thing. Not my thing. Like, I still really like. I don't know if I mentioned it on there, but I'll mention it on here. I still really like that we got an Indian voice actress for her, which both has the great representation card, and it also just adds that authenticity to her character, because we never knew what she sounded like at all until now. And like, I just love that. How I'm feeling about the retcon. Oh God, wow. I'm still not a huge fan of it, but I'm still taking it in stride. So yeah. That's probably the long and short of it, really. It's a cool sequel. I think if I hadn't read the comic and I was just like a show guy, a visual, like I just did the movies and shows, I think it's still a solid opening. But I think because I read the comic, I'm just like I'm a bit sour.
And I didn't read the comic, and I am the show guy, and so to have the connections that I have to Kanan and Rebels, like as soon as they said Depa Balaba, I lit up because I knew whose master that was. And the word, whenever the soldier was like, where's your Padawan? I was like it was that much. He's coming. It's going to happen right now. And I have zero connection to that comic. Like I haven't heard a summary. I don't know. I've now, because of this week, I've heard it's at night or around a campfire. Like I know there's some little details that they've said this is where the change is. But for me, being a show guy, I was pumped about it. And so it worked for me. So again, it's finding that balance between how deep we are down the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, and we talked about this on Skywalking, and, I understand, because again, this is one of those, Scotty, I think Scotty made the joke, or maybe it was Bill, who was talking about, and just wait, because whenever Dave Filoni's asked about it, he's going to tilt his cowboy hat and be like, from a certain point of view, they're both still true. And
it might have been Scotty. I can't remember.
Yeah, that was Scotty. I listened to that episode. It was definitely Scotty.
Yeah, that's what I thought. The emotional core of that moment stays the same, right? Like
I think it's a bit stronger in the comic, but like again, that's just me.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fair. I think, and again, I'm not like frustrated by it. I'm not gonna threaten to cancel my Disney Plus subscription over it. There's just like weird head scratching changes that I don't understand why her lightsaber is blue. I don't understand. Like it's such a nitpick. It's such a nitpick, and it's so fucking stupid to harp on.
Maybe they were using a green screen in that episode.
The funny thing is her lightsaber is blue in the lightsaber book that came out recently. Like she's
really,
yeah.
I didn't get a chance to pick it up. That also frustrates me.
Did she is it just blue now? Did she lose her green one and have to bomb a lightsaber?
So in the Kanan Last Padawan comic, she still has her green blade.
Oh.
But now in the lightsaber book, she has blue, and here she has blue.
Yeah. I wonder why.
Okay, now I want to see an earlier Depa Balaba thing post this change.
Concept art or something.
Maybe she's honoring the late Adi Gallia.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Someone has to.
Somebody has to.
Yeah. I think I'm in the camp that both stories could probably work because I think you mentioned it, Jared, on Skywalking, the broad strokes are still the same. It's just the details that are a bit muddy.
It's still you need to run. Yeah, it's still you need to run to save yourself. I'm going to stay. She dies. Caleb, whichever name you want to go with, blames himself for it. And he just has to carry that with him, and feeling like he ran away from a fight is what becomes a huge driving force for his character moving forward. That all stays the same. I just want to know why it keeps getting changed. And I want to know, and I say this as somebody who prefers a blue lightsaber to a green lightsaber. Mr. Filoni, what is your problem with green lightsabers? Because we're 2 for 2 now. He weirdly just has Ahsoka's lightsabers turn blue, and then have Anakin go, "Yeah, I fixed them for you." And
I thought that was
in character, though.
It is absolutely in character for Anakin.
Yeah, this
is
not the same as.
But I feel that's Dave Filoni saying that to Ahsoka through Anakin. I think there's a part of him that's going
with Ahsoka's lightsaber change. It felt very, there was a very storied reason for it. And this was just kind of odd. With the light,
maybe from a certain point of view, both the blue and green are true.
But regardless, the opening battle with the Bad Batch just going against all the droids was just so fun and so creative.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the one thing I really like about their fighting style, especially because they're a squad. It's just their creativity, and we'll get into that later with the arena fight.
Yeah. But other than that, it's a great scene. I love Freddie Prinze Jr. I don't know why they did that to him.
I love his Twitter though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mike, for your context, they still had Freddie Prinze Jr. playing Kanan.
Okay.
He's like 12 or 13 when this scene happens.
So when Deppa's like,
Yeah.
where are the reinforcements?
Here they
Do
come.
not worry, master. They are on the way.
Yeah,
My
it's
friends
bad.
will be here soon. Caleb, you have to run. But master.
Master.
Don't worry, boy. We're not going to shoot you and then cross it. Liar! So that's why I made the joke about the
It
balls
doesn't help
dropping.
that like Freddie Prinze Jr.'s voice already has like such a swagger to it too, so that like he sounds slick and cool as shit, and it's just this 13-year-old who sounds like Freddie Prinze Jr. It's so funny.
My mom loves
Like,
Freddie
I
Prinze
wonder,
Jr., so I need
like-
to tell her to watch Rebels.
I wonder what they did for Cameron with the young Cal scene.
I think they just pitched his voice up. I think they manipulated his voice, and it sounds like whenever Caleb first shows up here, they play with his voice for like maybe 30 seconds of dialogue, and then after that they went, you know what, Freddie,
go with it.
just free ball it. Just free ball it. We're not going to edit this at all. Don't try to pitch yourself up. In fact, try to have your voice be as deep as possible
Yeah.
for the 12-year-old.
So that's just, yeah,
dumb.
It's so funny.
it really is. I like
It's
noticed
funny,
it like
but it's dumb.
3 seconds in. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
oh. So, yeah. But yeah, now we get back. But then after Kalar, we go to Camino,
Mm-hmm.
and that I thought that was really fun. And just, I mean, to go back a bit, I really liked how it was shown that Hunter has like this affinity for kids because he's like trying to, talk to Kanan and get him to,
Yeah.
calm down and everything, and then it gets disrupted. But like
Well-
that was a really nice early setup for that. And then Omega comes into the picture on Camino.
Yeah. It could just be that he doesn't like killing innocent people. Right? Like Crosshair Order 66 was kind of, it made perfect sense to him, right?
Yeah.
But for Hunters, like we've been serving with the Jedi for 3 years. Kid's 13.
I'm not
I'm not
going to
doing
shoot
it,
the child. I
right?
am not going to do.
But I do agree. It does set up his relationship with Amoeba a little bit. But I think that, like, he's not alone in caring about her, right?
Yeah.
He's the leader, so he takes charge. She is one of them. She's one of them.
Which
So there's that.
like, I was such an idiot when they're on Onderon, and Tech's like, yeah, there's 5 of us. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I did the same thing.
The 5 of you guys. And he's like, oh, Echo's a reg, and I'm like, I'm an
Oh, yeah.
idiot.
I did the same. I completely forgot.
What's the girl thing's name? Girl Camino in?
Lama
Not
Su.
Nala Say.
Lama
Nala
Su.
Say.
Nala Say.
Nala Say is the one that Omega
Yeah.
is partnered with.
Yep. And she is the VIP of that episode.
That first episode, that's one thing that, like, I like that the Kaminoans, it seems like they're playing it close to the chest. And I know that, like, this is so pie in the sky and absolutely not going to happen.
Okay.
I want and would enjoy the Battlefront 2 Camino campaign thing.
Yes.
Where, like, Camino was like, hey, on you, like, bitch, I want my money. I'm sending an army of Jango Fett's to come collect. Like,
Well, and here that brings up an interesting point, and something that I thought about along the way is we may not be as far off from something along, maybe not that, but some version of that. We may not be that far away from it, because you notice, especially primarily in that first episode, they spend a pretty good amount of time highlighting the fact that the Kaminoans are saying these are our clones. When they do the battle test, you could injure them if you use real. We'll pay you. Like they're concerned of our product, our clones, our whatever. I was watching, I think it was Bombad the other night, and I was blowing up their live chat because I kept throwing out there the phrase that I've decided that I'm going with is that the Kaminoans are chaotic neutral. Like there's something going and coming forward. Like they're not tied to anybody. Like they've been working for the Republic, but like their thing is like, this is our product. We do it really well. That's where our investment is. And so that sets up another dynamic down the line, especially because the other side of that is we get the highlights of Tarkin being very anti-clone and very like, I don't care. I don't care about your stuff. Here's some money. Shut up and go away.
Yeah,
like
it's very funny. To me, at least, it's very him being anti-clone was more so financial than anything, because like you have the Death Star project, and when Tarkin was talking about like, not really, just generally alluding to the financial aspect of it, it kind of reminded me of how in the 2015 main Star Wars comic, I think like issue 8 or 9 or even earlier, Cassio Tag from A New Hope talks about how like with all the resources and money they poured into the Death Star, we could have used that to create like more fleets of Star Destroyers. And it's just, I feel like that's kind of the same thing. It's like he couldn't. I guess he's not anti-clone for like, discrimination purposes, but he's probably anti-clone for financial purposes.
It's a cost-benefit
I don't know.
analysis.
Tarkin didn't like the clones back in Clone Wars. They were on, was that Malastare? Mustafar?
No. Oh shit. Where was the goddamn Citadel?
The Citadel.
Yeah, I can't.
Like he was a douche
Umbara?
back then.
No,
not
Umbara.
Umbara. Malastare sounds correct, but it's probably not.
They have pod racing on Malastare.
Yes, they do.
Well, and it sets up too. What is, and this is where I, may have to turn in part of my fan card, but at some point there's
Lola Sayu is the planet that the Citadel happens on.
Yes, Jared. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No. There's a transition at some point away from clones into stormtroopers, and so is that set up partially through the Kamino? Is there another part of the inhibitor chip where the Kaminoans at some point can go click, 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 beep, beep, beep? Now they're not loyal to the Empire. Now, like that's a way out there thing, but we do have a transition set up. And if they are, if the Kaminoans are protective of product number one, that sets up another transition point into the Empire as we're basically building the Empire through this series right now.
I think you're onto something, Nick. That sounds like something the Kaminoans would do.
Yeah.
And here's what I think is interesting there. And again, like the back door that George kind of wrote into this intentionally or not, with the accelerated growth process, that means there's a whole lot of different reasons for there to not be a whole lot of clones left by the time of the Galactic Civil War in the original trilogy. Like Rex, Wolf, Gregor, they're kicking around during the time of Rebels. We know Rex serves on Endor. Right. Which is, I love it. It's stupid and I love it.
I love it too.
Same.
But like for the most part, okay, maybe Rex is just longer lived and he's just, the same way some people are just going to just naturally outlive other people. Rex does maybe with some of his brothers.
He did drugs. You need to do a certain amount of drugs and then stop or just stay on weed.
Yeah.
Ringo Starr, best looking Beatle. That's still alive.
Yeah. Only Beatle.
Willie Nelson.
Keith Richards, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg.
Snoop's gonna live forever.
He looks young. Yeah.
Yeah, he's aged like wine. But like I like the idea of like who's to say that most of the clones died of old age? who's to say that the Kaminoans do exactly what you're talking about, Nick? And they go, well, they're no longer loyal to the Empire, and they're going to try to stage a coup because they want their goddamn money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the Empire. Who's to say they don't just carpet bomb Topeka City into the ocean?
Yeah.
And then, that's where so much of the ability to create these clones goes to hell.
Yeah,
well, the Empire.
If we end up getting a subplot of Empire versus Clone Rebellions due to finances, it would be the most George Lucas Clone Wars. So
That's right. Trade federations, baby.
Rhymes.
Yeah.
The taxation
Well,
it started right here
Yeah.
with the taxation of trade.
Another really funny moment and just wholesome because Omega's just incredibly wholesome was just like the mess hall fight and how she's just like, these are my friends.
I saw a slowed
These
down.
are my friends.
I love that accent so much. I could listen to somebody read the phone book. What I saw is like a slowed down clip of the mess hall fight where watching Crosshair throw a lunch tray like it's Captain America's shield is something special.
Oh yeah, that was
and the way that all that's missing is just like the whomp boom sound.
Because he was just like,
flight.
I'm tired of this crap, and just flings it.
Dude, Crosshair was having none of it. And oh my God, I identified with him. That's the only time I ever liked Crosshair as a character. He just wants to eat his food. That is me. That is me.
Yeah,
Levi
I just
circa
want
Taco
to
Bell
eat
getting rid of potatoes.
my food.
Yep.
And little brats starting a fight, and then more of these regs talking shit about us.
Like, I don't care.
Right?
Just give me my
still
food.
fighting a mental battle. Like, it was right to kill the Jedi. Mm-hmm. And then
Crosshair is not having that moral quandary at all. He's upset he didn't get to shoot at more Jedi.
No, he's having a conflict as to like, do I continue to follow my comrades or do I join the regs? And then speaking of the regs, one comes up and just like, hey, bah, or whatever he does. And he loses it. Yeah, I'd throw a lunch plate like Captain America.
It's beautiful.
I'd kill a man. If I were Crosshair, I would kill someone.
I've seen what happens when people screw his order up at takeout. Like his eyes turn black. It's scary. Don't stand between this man and his Taco Bell.
Me?
Yeah.
Duly noted.
It's the last mistake you'll ever make. Mike, just based off of the conversations that were happening that have zero context for you, how are you thinking about Bad Batch?
It sounds quite exciting. Another graphic Order 66 scene is to be desired, I suppose. I've seen pictures of Omega, but like she seems like just some like what is she, some like kid that like lives on Camino just like screwing around.
Yeah, but she's one of the
you out. Okay. I'll help you out now, Governor.
Amiga.
Amiga.
Is-
Oh, not Omega. Okay.
No, it is
Amiga.
Omega, but she
Amiga.
has like a Kiwi accent. So
Amiga's a clone.
Oh, she's a clone. Oh, she's going to go around and like Morton.
She's one of their experimental clones.
And every
Now,
time
as for how experimental, we don't know. I have
that's
a couple
the theory
theories.
in the question.
Because I
Well-
don't think the experiment is just she has no PP.
well, let's go into that then, and I want to give you the floor so that you can talk Omega theories.
She's an empath.
She's a what?
Okay, she is
Empath.
absolutely an empath. This
Yes.
can mean
They get
one of
violently
two
oppressed.
things. This can mean one of two
They kill
things.
us.
Either they'll explain it by screwing around with the part of the brain that recognizes emotion, and she's like she can read emotions really well. But I think from what we saw, I think it's more than that. And I
Agreed.
am in the camp that she was either injected or her DNA got mixed around so that she has midichlorians. and that she
Correct.
is force sensitive.
Oh God, people who can create midichlorians.
Yeah,
oh, no.
And that means one
no.
of two things.
No.
That means one of two things. Either the Kaminoans are they already kind of saw this Tarkin move coming and are trying to make force sensitive clones to give them a better shot, or, and I'm not sure how I feel about this one, they are already experimenting for Palpy clones.
I think I want to take that last one and say that I think that there is no reason at all that the Kaminoans shouldn't already be trying to find a way to make cloning a force sensitive work.
I've died before.
I think that maybe, again, this is part of my thing with like, who's to say that the Empire doesn't just wipe Topeka City off the galactic map?
Yeah.
That potentially, that whenever the Empire raids and rains hell on Kamino, the part of it's like, oh, hey, here's some incomplete research about how to successfully clone a force sensitive. This might come in handy, Mr. Palpatine. And that they obtain that, and Palpatine's like, oh, good. Cheat code, never gonna die. Hey, start working on that right now. You, guy that looks like Connor Chikiti, get on it.
Dr. Pershing.
I should play Baby
Yeah.
Dr. Persian.
Yeah, I think that's going to
Well-
play into it.
Yeah, and
Um,
we know that Palpatine was obsessed with living forever. It starts
Yeah.
with,
Always.
have you ever heard the tale? Like, and that's why, the big arc of Palpatine, I'm so on board for all that. But what you're looking at when we're talking about Omega, which every time she says Omega, I think about
Amoeba.
James Bond talking about his watch, because he calls his Omega watch an Omega. It's a very British Kiwi, kind of thing to do. And I also saw somebody on Twitter say, after seeing the show, you can't bring yourself to say her name without saying it like her instead of saying it the regular way. You have to say Omega.
Omega.
But there's the possibility, and of course we have the Alpha Omega theory. If she's Omega, she's the last of the clones, falling in that line. With the Bad Batch and with her being that fifth experimental one, one of the theories that I like is the idea that she's a little bit of all of those guys, because you have the empath part of it, like Hunter. She can sense things. She knows what's up. You've got the crosshair part.
She was a good shot without.
We see her with the
having
blaster
to
with a
shoot.
good shot.
Okay.
We have tech. I don't know how it's going to manifest with Rika yet, but there's that side of it. But so let's say you take those bits and then you mix in some force, midichlorian, whatever, and now you've gone to Taco Bell and you've gone down the drink machine and you've gotten a little bit of every one of them in your cup and said, I've got the best drink. So that's a little bit where I am with, you hear, of course, the internet's been full of nonsense as regards, theorizing that she's connected to Palpatine. Like, we know that's Palpatine's deal. Like, he's funny about cloning. He's into that. I think it's very possible, and I would not be at all surprised if she's connected to him somehow. And, somebody said, well, what about the accent? She's got the Django accent. It's a product of her environment. That's where she lives. She lives around all these other clones. She doesn't have to sound like him to be connected to him. So
That's
I don't know.
true.
I went all over the map with that, but
You pick up accents wherever you live.
Yep.
for sure.
I'm with you, Nick, and I'm with you too, Levi. Like both of those theories. Those seem the most solid, but like I'm just really excited to see where she goes in the show.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes, accents are picked up from where you are. They are not hereditary. Looking at every early who's raised parents theory, that when she's British, therefore Palpatine or Obi-Wan. So glad we can leave that discourse behind.
1/4 portion. Hey, that's my ship.
Yeah, I think there's some really interesting stuff that can happen with Omega. Yeah, I do like the idea of her being force sensitive. And again, like if there's a connection to Palpatine, I don't want it to be that she was created as a test for Palpatine, but that like the unfinished research on how to create a being like her is what leads to his plans.
Yeah, and I
You
like
know,
that a lot.
I really, really, really do not want this to be like this is how early Palpatine is planning out. Like, okay, now what if I get killed? Right? Like, I don't
die.
like. I feel like he needs. Like, it just becomes a little like I like with the stuff we're getting in the Vader comic. I like seeing the Exegol stuff now. One we will talk about Luke's hand eventually. Because that's funny as hell. You've seen this? Like they kind of like tease the idea that we have a canon version of Luke, and his name is Snoke. It's stupid and silly, and I love it. But yeah, episode
kind of stupid and silly. So
I know, and I
fits.
love him. Episode 2, I also think was a lot of fun. I like seeing these. I like seeing the clones trying to move on from being clone troopers. I patron and friend of the show, Angie. I think it was in Tau Swift. The commented on a post about the episode 2 with something to the effect of the Bad Batch needs to learn here and now that anytime they're trying to do something, they need to make up a bullshit job for Omega to do, if for no other reason than to stop her from doing shit like this.
Yep.
Because if she does not feel like she has a job to do, she will create one, and it involves starting a firefight every time.
Yeah, because she mimics like
Yes,
everybody.
correct. And
She
she
picks up,
wants
like, as Levi and Nick have theorized that like that could be her thing. So yeah, but I'm with Ange on that. Just create
And
some
she's
bull crap.
she's a kid. She wants to belong too.
Yeah.
Doesn't want
Yeah.
to be useless. Right? Because she thought the reason Hunter was getting rid of her was because she tried to retrieve the ball.
Yeah. And,
Oh,
yeah,
that
which is-
bro,
Like
that
she
scene
walked up
broke
like
me.
I know I made a mistake.
Mhm.
Right? But he just didn't want a kid to be caught up in the like guaranteed violent death that these idiots are gonna have.
I mean, hey, we also like Fennec Shand is on the way.
Mhm.
Like that's one element here that we're going to be getting into soon. Fennec is on the way. Rex plays in somehow. Like,
Fennec?
yeah,
Why?
she was in the first trailer. I think the Empire hires her to
Oh,
take these guys out,
huh.
or that like paths cross and they get in her way, and she's like, "Hey, get the hell out of my way."
Why? Going back to what Mike said, why do like the same 50 freaking people know each other in this entire like huge galaxy? Why do the 50 important people know each other?
I mean, it's like the same thing as like this entire all these series of wars started over like family problems.
Yeah, I think there's like a real world aspect to it where
Yeah.
it's like you get all the same important people in the same room, and there's just kind of like a weird trickle down. But
Star
also,
Wars
I
royal
agree with
family,
you that
the
like
Skywalkers.
All these bounty hunters
I agree. I
from
feel
Legends, from your own mind, because we're with a new
Shut
canon
up,
now.
Dengar.
No, we have to bring back another character who's already
Yes.
shown up.
We gotta bring him back because he's cool.
What about Embo?
I want more
What about
Embo.
Embo?
I want more Embo. I
Same.
think and I'm so torn on that, right? Because before I was like, give me new stuff because the galaxy feels small, like you said, when it's the same 50 people. But also the writing's been really strong, and again, like we're coming up on a year of me giving a damn about Boba Fett, right?
Yeah.
Like I didn't give a shit about Boba Fett until a year ago.
Like there's even
I'm
and
not
I'm
quite
kind
there
of-
yet, but
I like seeing the characters return because we get to see them in interesting scenarios where I kind of go, oh, okay, this is kind of neat. I'm a little interested.
you even have a canonical reason for it to be Embo over Fennec because he was the second best bounty hunter. and Cad is probably dead.
Unfortunately.
I'm still
Okay.
holding out hope that they're saving to touch that. I also think that like they know Fennec right now is probably a little bit more popular, and because you have access to Ming-Na Wen to come
Only
in and do it.
because they made a new character named Fennec Shan.
Yeah, I mean, again, like because she was in the other show.
Yeah.
Like they want there to be a little bit. They want that interconnectivity, and I don't blame them for that. But then you have the issue of it's the same 50 people in this galaxy.
Yeah.
It's a weird give and take, and it's hard to, kind of land on one side or the other. Because, like, again, like I agree with that complaint. But also, Fennec Shand is cool as shit. Like, it's Mulan, man. But
All right.
I think just with episode 2, it was really cool seeing Salakamai again, seeing Cut and Sue, and the kids. It was really interesting that like you could definitely tell they're becoming like, I don't want to say more Twi'lek, but like that's the vibe I got from both of them because of this hybrid, that like they're becoming more Twi'lek than human.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens with Jason Syndulla as well.
yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting idea.
And just, seeing Hunter talk to Omega like she's a soldier, and then Cut's like, no, come here, little child, and like
that is a
treating her like
child.
a daughter.
Yep.
He's like, okay, I got a lot to learn, don't I?
Yeah. As a parent, that moment hit me right in the feels for sure.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't blame you for that. But yeah, them's the first 2 episodes of The Bad Batch, I think. We're going to be covering it weekly. Stay tuned for some programming updates because we might be switching up how we cover The Bad Batch on nights. Maybe we won't. Not sure yet, but there are
News
some.
to me.
Huh?
News to me.
It was in the chat. It was like way back.
Like earlier
That's
this
it.
week.
News to me.
Get screwed.
I will debrief in a moment.
On
But yeah,
our way to the New City buffet.
I think I'm going to pass on that because my stomach is very upset.
Well, then just don't eat anything.
I'm good. I'm also very tired. It's been a very long week.
Just drink a coffee, man. Come on.
No, my stomach's upset. Why would I eat?
Don't eat anything.
Why would I drink coffee if my stomach is already upset?
So then you can cleanse yourself.
That is
That's what you do. Drink vinegar.
no.
Ask the nice people there for vinegar.
I
Give me
am
some
so-
damn vinegar,
And
then you'll get cleaned out.
okay, maybe I'm.
Come on.
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell and vinegar and coffee.
Cleanse yourself. There will be nothing left in you.
I think I'm going to pass on this one, but I appreciate it. I completely lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, I'll debrief what I was talking about in a minute. Nick, again, please tell the lovely people where they can find you and everything that you do.
Absolutely. Podcast of the Whills. We are live on Sunday nights. In fact, tomorrow night, we have a gentleman named Jamie Cosley. Jamie is on Twitter. He is known as the Jedi cartoonist in the last 4 years. He puts regular original comic strips in Star Wars Insider magazine. He's also done stuff for Topps Card Trader, Star Wars Card Trader. Really cool guy. I'm excited to talk to him tomorrow night. So we will be on tomorrow night, 8 Central, YouTube, Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at WillsPod. And also Facebook and Instagram are both also at WillsPod. So check us out, hang out, come be a part of the show.
And for those of you at home, what he just said is happening today when you're hearing this. So
Sunday,
this on Saturday.
Mother's Day.
yes, it's happening on Mommy's Day.
Ooh. I'm going to
Oh
get...
wait! Oh my God! Today's Victory Day, Connor. Today's Victory Day. The war's over,
yeah, that's
man.
right.
Woo!
Yeah, the Clone War ended.
And World War II.
I know, but it was
And the Clone
joke
War.
for the Bad Batch.
World War
Um,
II.
Yeah, in Europe.
VE
in
Day.
Europe.
Why does Europe ignore the fact that there's another half of the planet?
Hey,
World War
hey,
II
hey,
doesn't
hey,
end
come on,
with
come on.
Hitler.
Hey, come on.
Because it's Europe. Anyway, Levi.
Because it's
what-
your
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Come on, man.
You can
You're
find
offended,
me.
Man, they're all like, like, oh, yes, yeah.
You can find me at Levi_Baum on Twitter. Not on Twitch right now because I'm still waiting for my computer to get better. And yeah, we'll see. Who's next? Mike?
Yes.
Mike, where?
Mike or Derling45 on Instagram, Darthid415 on Twitter. Please comment on my most recent status update thing on Twitter. I'm curious to what people say. And Mike Doling on Facebook. Oh, and Darth Id the Illuminator on TikTok.
Yeah. Oh my God. TikTok is so cursed, and I love it.
It's not even like I'm trying to get better at it. Like, make
It's
more.
so no.
Like,
don't try to get.
I don't like that I'm being followed by like other obviously cursed people. Like,
I'm so glad that is what you're pulling down on
the
TikTok.
internet, like the margins of TikTok. Like, I'm not.
Also, to answer your question right now, Han Solo thinks he's an alpha male.
That's
Han Solo's
like
an
that
alpha
answer.
male.
He thinks he is.
No, he doesn't care, which makes him an alpha.
I don't know. I think he cares. You know, like when he's like measuring like with Lando. Well, no problem. What?
You know, by episode 7 though.
Oh yeah, but
dude is the alpha.
Yeah,
Wait,
but
that's only with age. Like that's not like his whole life thing. You know? Huh?
He was old in the OG.
Not really. I mean, he's like in his prime,
late
whatever.
20s, early 30s.
Yeah, it's old.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
That makes Nick sound like he's like goddamn Yoda over here. That don't be like that. He's wise. He's a wise Jedi master. Milky.
And
Connor, where can the lovely people find you, sir?
Twitter at Depa Banana, Instagram ConmanJFO, Star Wars Editor IG, where I write articles very sparingly. Facebook at the Alliance of Star Wars Fanatics, a group that's basically a safe space for Star Wars fans if you just want to talk Star Wars without having to worry about being put down for your opinion. So,
yes, indeedy. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dark Jedi 2552. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, where if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon page. Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Case and Breon, the Waffle Wizard, Delta 9, and Zach Hanaus. You guys help us make the content that we love to produce. Be sure to consider the $5 tier, where you can check out the Knights of the Nerd Republic Versus series, the Heroic History 101, and the Nerd Academy Movie Club audio commentaries. Click on the student store link on our website to check out our TeePublic and get all manner of Nerd Academy merch and goodies. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things. We are honored that you all have joined us. Thank you again to Nick. Be sure to check out Podcast of the Whills. Do yourself a favor. Pardon my hiccup. Do yourself a favor. It's a phenomenal show, phenomenal people. And may the force be with you always.
I didn't say oil boils.